The first snowflake of the season kissed Madeline's cheek like a secret whisper, but it was Elena's laugh, raw, unfiltered, slicing through the sterile hum of the Harrington family gala, that shattered the ice around her heart. In that instant, amid the crystal chandeliers and forced toasts to fortunes built on shadows, Madeline, heir to an empire of steel and silence, felt the world tilt. She was 24, dressed in velvet that cost more than most people's rent, yet utterly unseen, until Elena's eyes, dark as midnight coffee, locked onto hers across the crowded ballroom, pulling her into a gravity she couldn't escape. Madeline Harrington had always known the weight of expectation. Born into the glittering cage of New York's elite, her life was a meticulously scripted affair: Harvard summers, boardroom shadows, and a father whose love came wrapped in quarterly reports. Richard Harrington, the billionaire behind Harrington Industries, ruled his domain with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel, cold, calculated, and utterly devoid of mercy for weakness. Her mother, Victoria, glided through it all like a ghost in Chanel, her smiles as brittle as the icicles clinging to their Fifth Avenue penthouse. Christmas was no different, a spectacle of excess, where the help scurried like mice and guests pretended at warmth. But this year, as the clock struck 8 on that frigid December eve, something cracked open inside her. Elena Vargas was not supposed to be there. At 22, she was the daughter of Rosa, the family's longtime maid, a woman who'd scrubbed floors for 2 decades without a single complaint. Elena had come only to help her mother serve, slipping in through the service entrance with trays of mulled wine and dreams deferred. Community college by day, night shifts at a diner by evening, she was fire-wrapped in quiet steel, her curves soft under threadbare sweaters, her spirit a rebellion against the hand life had dealt. She'd inherited her mother's fierce loyalty, but none of the resignation. Elena's eyes held storms, the kind that promised both destruction and rebirth. Their collision was inevitable, born of a spilled glass and a shared glance. Madeline, dodging her father's latest interrogation about merger prospects, backed into the edge of a server station. Crimson wine arced through the air, splattering Elena's crisp white blouse like blood on snow. Gasps rippled from the crowd, scandal in miniature, but Elena didn't flinch. She met Madeline's mortified stare with a smirk that said, "I've seen worse." "I'm so sorry," Madeline stammered, her voice a threadbare whisper amid the jazz quartet swell. She grabbed a napkin, dabbing futilely at the stain, her fingers brushing Elena's wrist. Time stuttered. Elena's skin was warm, alive in a way that made Madeline's polished world feel like frostbite. "No harm done, miss," Elena replied, her accent a soft lilt from Queens, laced with the rhythm of streets that never slept. But her eyes lingered, curious, appraising. Happens when the rich folk get restless. Madeline's cheeks burned, not from the wine, but from the truth in those words. For the first time that night, she felt seen, stripped bare. "Let me. I can get you a new one." Or. Elena laughed then, low and genuine, waving her off. "Keep your silks. This'll wash." She leaned in, conspiratorial, her breath scented with cinnamon from the spice cider. "Besides, red's my color. Makes me look dangerous." Dangerous. The word ignited something primal in Madeline, a spark against the damp chill of her existence. She wanted to ask 1,000 questions about the faint scar on Elena's knuckle, the way her hair curled defiantly at her temples, but her mother's voice sliced through. "Darling, the Carsons are waiting." Duty called, as always. Yet, as the evening wore on, fate, or perhaps the meddling hands of a tipsy aunt, conspired to pull them back together. In the solarium, away from the fray, where poinsettias bloomed under heated glass and the city's skyline glittered like a promise unkept, Madeline found Elena again. She was perched on a wicker bench, nursing a stolen flute of champagne, staring out at the falling snow. "Mind if I join the outcasts?" Madeline asked, sliding beside her without waiting for an answer. The bench creaked under their combined weight, a small rebellion. Elena tilted her head, amusement dancing in her gaze. Outcasts? You? With the crown jewels on your neck. Madeline touched the diamond choker, suddenly hating its cold bite. It's just glass, really. Traps the light, but lets none in. She paused, heart hammering. What's your name? Elena. Simple, unadorned. And yours is Madeline Harrington, future queen of steel beams and broken dreams. Madeline winced, but Elena's tone held no malice, only a wry honesty that felt like fresh air. They talked then, words tumbling like the snow outside. Elena spoke of her mother's sacrifices, the tiny apartment where Christmas meant tamales from scratch and lights strung from thumbtacks. Madeline confessed fragments of her own isolation, the boarding schools that echoed with absence, the father who saw her as a line item on a balance sheet. Hours slipped by, the gala's murmur fading to a distant hum. You're not what I expected, Elena said at last, her knee brushing Madeline's in the dim light. The contact was electric, a current that raced up Madeline's spine. Neither are you. Madeline's voice cracked, raw with unspoken longing. She'd dated men before, safe, scripted affairs that left her hollow. But this pull toward Elena was a chasm opening beneath her feet. Lesbian whispers had haunted her dreams for years, dismissed as youthful folly. Now they roared. The solarium door swung open, spilling golden light and her father's silhouette. Madeline, it's time for the toast. She rose, reluctant, but Elena's fingers grazed hers, a fleeting anchor. Merry Christmas, princess, she murmured, her smile a secret shared. As Madeline stepped back into the fray, glass in hand, raising it to hollow cheers, she tasted rebellion on her tongue. That night, in the quiet of her canopied bed, she replayed Elena's laugh, the warmth of her skin. Sleep came fitful, dreams woven with snow and stolen glances. Little did she know, this spark would ignite a fire that would consume secrets long buried in the Harrington frost. The days blurred into a pre-Christmas haze, the city transforming under a blanket of white. Manhattan's avenues pulsed with holiday frenzy, skaters whirling at Rockefeller Center, vendors hawking roasted chestnuts. But for Madeline, the world narrowed to one point: Elena. She found excuses to linger in the penthouse kitchen, ostensibly helping with holiday prep, but really stealing moments where Rose's back was turned. Elena appeared sporadically, ferrying supplies from the service elevator, her presence a magnetic pull. On the third morning after the gala, snow blanketing Central Park like a lover's sigh, Madeline cornered her in the walk-in pantry. Shelves groaned under jars of preserves and tins of caviar, the air thick with vanilla and unspoken tension. "You've vanished," Madeline accused softly, blocking the door. Her heart thundered, a wild thing caged. Elena set down a crate of oranges, wiping her hands on her jeans. "Work doesn't wait for fairy tales, Maddie." The nickname slipped out, intimate, testing boundaries. Madeline stepped closer, the space between them crackling. "Then make time. Dinner. Tonight. Somewhere real. Not this mausoleum." Elena's eyes widened, a flicker of surprise giving way to mischief. "You, slumming it in my world? Your dad would have a stroke." "Let him." Defiance surged through Madeline, hot and unfamiliar. She'd spent her life tiptoeing around Richard's tempers, his empire's demands. But Elena? She made her want to run, to leap. They met at dusk in a hole-in-the-wall taqueria off Broadway, where neon signs buzzed and the air smelled of cumin and corn tortillas. Elena arrived first, bundled in a thrifted parka, her cheeks flushed from the cold. Madeline, shedding her cashmere coat like a skin, felt exposed, alive, in a way she'd never known. No silverware, no sommeliers, just plastic plates piled with carnitas and laughter that bubbled unbidden. "Tell me everything," Madeline urged, leaning across the scarred Formica table. The parts they don't put in holiday cards. Elena obliged, her stories vivid tapestries, summers at Coney Island, dodging waves and boardwalk hustlers, the night she patched her mother's broken heart after a layoff, with nothing but ramen and rented movies. Vulnerability laced her words, but so did strength, a quiet ferocity that made Madeline ache with envy and desire. "Your turn," Elena prodded, her foot nudging Madeline's under the table. "What's the real Harrington Christmas? Beyond the caviar?" Madeline hesitated, then spilled. The mandatory carols her mother sang off-key to drown out arguments, the year her father forgot her birthday, buried in a hostile takeover. "It's all performance," she admitted, voice thick. "I perform, they applaud, and nothing touches the cold inside." Elena's hand covered hers then, thumb tracing slow circles on her knuckles. Not cold, just waiting for the right thaw. Her gaze held Madeline's, deep and unwavering, and in that greasy-lit booth, the world outside melted away. They walked afterward through the snow-dusted streets, breath mingling in white plumes. At the edge of Washington Square Park, under the shadow of the arch, Elena stopped. "This is crazy, you know." "Us." "Is it?" Madeline's pulse roared. She cupped Elena's face, gloved fingers trembling against soft skin. Their lips met, tentative at first, then fervent, a dam breaking. Elena tasted of lime and longing, her arms wrapping around Madeline's waist, pulling her close against the winter bite. Fireworks exploded in Madeline's chest, colors she'd never named. They broke apart, foreheads pressed, giggling like schoolgirls. "Merry and sane Christmas," Elena whispered. But as they parted ways, Elena to her subway, Madeline to her chauffeured town car, shadows loomed. Unbeknownst to them, eyes watched from the penthouse heights. Victoria Harrington, nursing a gin by the window, had seen the stolen pantry glances, the lingering kitchen chats. Her own heart, scarred by choices long silenced, twisted with recognition. Secrets, like snow, had a way of accumulating until the weight brought everything crashing down. The week spiraled into a whirlwind of clandestine bliss. By day, Madeline navigated board meetings and charity galas, her mind a traitor replaying Elena's touch. By night, they carved out stolen hours. Ice skating at Bryant Park, where Elena's glides were clumsy but bold, her laughter echoing as she clung to Madeline's arm. Midnight hot chocolate runs to a corner deli, sharing dreams under street lamps that flickered like hesitant confessions. "You're addictive," Madeline murmured one evening, tangled in the sheets of Elena's cramped studio apartment in Astoria. The space was a riot of color, posters of Frida Kahlo and protest marches pinned to peeling walls, fairy lights strung haphazardly to mimic the Harrington opulence. Elena's body was a revelation, curves that fit perfectly against her own, skin like warm silk under exploring hands. They moved together with a hunger born of prohibition, whispers turning to gasps, the world reduced to the rhythm of their shared breath. Elena propped on an elbow, tracing Madeline's collarbone. "And you're a storm in silk. But what happens when the family's wind blows back?" Madeline silenced her with a kiss, but doubt gnawed. Richard's scrutiny had sharpened. He'd cornered her over breakfast, probing about distractions, with that steel gaze. "Focus, darling. The holiday merger dinner is crucial. No room for frivolity." Frivolity. The word stung, reducing Elena to a footnote. Yet, as Christmas Eve dawned with a fresh blizzard, Madeline plotted escape. "The cabin," she announced to Elena over a hurried phone call, voice laced with conspiracy. The Harrington family owned a secluded Adirondack lodge, rustic luxury amid pine forests, a retreat for bonding that often meant isolation. "We'll go. Just us. Tell Rosa you're visiting family." Elena's hesitation crackled through the line. "Your folks won't buy it. I'll handle them." Lies came easier now, greased by desperation. The drive north was a blur of heated seats and stolen kisses at red lights. Snow-cloaked evergreens blurred past, the radio crooning carols that felt mocking in their cheer. By afternoon, they arrived at the lodge, logs crackling in the massive stone hearth, floor-to-ceiling windows framing a white wilderness. No staff, no schedules, just them, wrapped in blankets, sipping spiked cocoa by the fire. That night, as flames danced shadows on the walls, Elena pulled Madeline close. "I love you," she said simply, the words a vow against the storm outside. Madeline's response was a sob of relief, her own "I love you," buried in Elena's neck. They made love slowly, reverently, the crackle of wood underscoring promises etched in skin. But dawn brought reckoning. A frantic call from Victoria. "Richard's furious." "Where are you?" Panic surged. Had they been tracked? Madeline hung up, heart pounding, only to find Elena staring at her phone, face ashen. "My mom's in the hospital," Elena whispered. "Appendicitis. She needs me." Guilt crashed over Madeline like an avalanche. "I'll drive you back." The return trip was tense, silence heavy as the snow that pelted the windshield. At the hospital in Queens, Rosa lay pale but grateful, squeezing Elena's hand. "Go be with your family, Mija. Christmas is for miracles." But miracles soured fast. As Elena comforted her mother, Madeline waited in the sterile hall, scrolling news on her phone, until Richard's text, "Home. Now. We talk." The penthouse loomed like a tribunal when she arrived, Victoria perched on the velvet chaise, Richard pacing like a caged lion. "Explain yourself," he barked, eyes narrowing at her disheveled coat, the flush that lingered from Elena's goodbye kiss. "I was clearing my head." Lies crumbled under his stare. Victoria interjected, voice soft but edged. "Darling, we saw you. With the girl. Rosa's daughter." The air sucked from the room. Richard's face darkened to thunder. "This ends tonight. No scandals, no, whatever this perversion is. You're a Harrington." The word perversion landed like a slap, echoing the taunts of her youth, the internalized shame she'd buried deep. Tears burned, but anger rose fiercer. "It's love, father. Real. Not your mergers or your money." He laughed, bitter. "Love? From the Maid spawn? You'll ruin us." Victoria rose then, her hand on Richard's arm. A rare touch. "Richard, enough." Her eyes met Madeline's, haunted, holding a mirror to pain unspoken. "Sit. All of us." What followed was a fracture, a unraveling. Victoria's voice trembled as she spoke, words long damned. "I know the sake, Maddie. Before Richard, there was Claire, my college love. We met at a rally, dreamed of changing the world. But families like ours? They demand conformity. I chose silence, safety, and it hollowed me." Madeline's world spun. Her mother, the Ice Queen, had loved a woman? The revelation cracked open vaults of understanding, of shared sorrow. Richard's bluster faltered, his face crumpling into something human, regretful. "I knew. Parts. Pushed it down. For the Empire." The room hung heavy with truths unearthed, the Christmas trees' lights mocking their fragility. Elena's text buzzed then. "Rosa stable. Come home." Home. Not the penthouse, but wherever Elena waited. Madeline stood, resolve stealing. "I choose her. Us." She walked out, into the snow-swept night, the family's secrets unfolding like petals in frost, beautiful, inevitable. In the hospital waiting room, Elena looked up, eyes red-rimmed but bright. "You came. Always." Madeline pulled her into an embrace, Rosa watching with a knowing smile from her bed. No more hiding. The days that followed were a tempest of fallout. Richard cut off her accounts, his empire's doors slamming shut. Disinherited, the lawyers called it. Whispers rippled through society pages. Harrington heiress in scandal. Paparazzi lurked outside Elena's apartment, but she faced them with chin high, arm linked through Madeline's. Victoria, in quiet rebellion, funneled funds through back channels. For your mother, not you, she claimed, but her eyes said otherwise. Letters arrived, handwritten confessions of lost years, apologies wrapped in lavender stationery. "Live the love I couldn't," one read. Elena and Madeline forged ahead, raw and real. A cramped walk-up in Brooklyn became their haven, walls echoing with laughter and late-night arguments over takeout. Elena finished her nursing degree, her scrubs a badge of battles won. Madeline pivoted to consulting for nonprofits, her voice amplifying the silenced LGBTQ+ youth, immigrant families like Rosa's. Christmas came again a year later, in their tiny tree strung with dollar store ornaments. Snow fell soft outside, blanketing the borough in hush. They gathered with Rosa, now recovered, and a tentative Victoria, Richard absent, but thawing via emails that hinted at therapy's slow work. As they exchanged gifts, handmade, heartfelt, Madeline pulled Elena aside to the fire escape, city lights twinkling below. "You saved me," she whispered, ring in hand, a simple band, engraved with thaw. Elena's tears sparkled like stars. "We saved each other." Their kiss sealed it, a vow against the cold. In the end, love wasn't the fairy tale of penthouses or prohibitions. It was the courage to unfold, layer by scarred layer, revealing the human beneath. And in that revelation, they found not just each other, but the family they'd always deserved, forged in fire, held in grace.